Greetings gamers, today I'm going to be showing you how I make deities and pantheons for my homebrew campaign. There are a whole bunch of different official and third-party pantheons available, so why exactly would you even want to make your own? Well, one reason could be that you love the process of creation and you just want to create an in-depth world for your players. Another reason could be you can't find a pantheon that fits your specific style and tone. And the third reason could be that you want the players to feel like this is a real world, and by creating an entire pantheon that they don't know, it helps them feel like this is a real place. So, how do you go about creating a pantheon? Well, that's what we're going to do today, and we're going to dive straight into it with a nice blank page. The first thing I like to do when I'm creating a deity is think about the primary region in which they are worshipped. So I think today we're going to go for a god who is worshipped mostly in Ashk. Now Ashk is a country in my homebrew setting. It is an Egyptian allegory, so plenty of deserts, and it draws heavily on ancient Egypt and the sort of Middle East, North African region of the world in its influences. So the very first thing I do after deciding where I want this deity to primarily be worshipped, if it's a specific region, is think about their alignment and their domains. So I think that this deity should be a lawful good deity and that their domain should be order, protection, and war. Now this is important to list out what domains they come under, because you can get two lawful good deities that would approach things very differently if one had order, protection, and war, and the other had love, nature, and knowledge, for example. They might both be lawful good, but they would approach problems very differently. So once you know what domains your god is going to cover, you can start to get a picture of their personality and the type of deity that they're going to be. So the next thing I'd want to do after deciding on the alignment and the domains is name the deity. Now there are a couple of different ways that you can do this. The way that I like to start with is by using Google Translate. If the deity I am building is worshipped in a particular place, I'll look at the real world allegory for that. So in our example, this deity is worshipped in Ashk, and that is an allegory for Egypt, the Middle East, North Africa, that sort of region of the world. So I'm going to translate some keywords into Arabic and see what we come up with. So we'll start with protection, as that's one of the primary domains. You can see you get the Arabic, the sort of English translation of it, and you also have the option to listen to it. Himayatan. Now, Himayatan is nice, but it's not quite what I want. So we'll try a different word. Let's try defend. And that gives us Aldeafe. Aldeafe. I like that. I think that's what we're going to go with. Aldeafe. And we will paste that in. Just capitalize that. And because I've translated that from the word defend, I think that this god should be called Aldeafe the Defender. I like to give my deities titles as well as names in a similar way to if you've seen the show Game of Thrones or read the Ice and Fire books. You know that all the gods have a title. There's the mother, the maiden, the smith, the warrior. It gives you a way for NPCs and your player characters to refer to the deities in a sort of colloquial manner. So they might say, the defender protect me, as opposed to Aldeafe protect me. And it just adds a little more depth to your world. So the next thing that we'd want to work on are the sort of virtues of the deity and what it is that they believe and how they approach different situations. Now, going back to the domains again, because I find that the place where I'm going to get most of my information from is going to come from those domains. And I know that Aldeafe is a goddess of order, protection, and war. I've chosen a goddess instead of a god, because this end part, this Fae, makes me think of a goddess. So we just change that there to be goddess, who is worshipped mostly in Ashk. And we know that the domains are order, protection, and war. So Aldeafe might believe that military might, martial might, is the best way to defend. So believes that martial might is the key to defending the innocent. And because she is a goddess of order, but also of war, then perhaps worshippers of Aldeafe might believe that to resolve legal matters, trial by combat is the best way. So strong believers in trial by combat. When two people enter an arena, the one that walks out is just and true. So that tells us a lot about how a culture built around this goddess would work, how their legal system might be structured. At the same time, I think that there would be a strong disdain for cowardice, either refusing to pick up your weapon or turning your back on a battle, on an honourable battle, And that honourable battle segment is key here, because I don't think worshippers of Aldeafe would be too concerned about taking part in a battle that wasn't honourable if it served no purpose, if it wasn't protecting someone, or if there was no lawful cause for the battle. I don't think they'd have any interest in it. But if someone refuses to pick up a weapon to defend their town from attackers, or if they refuse a just duel, I think that worshippers of Aldeafe would probably look down on someone that did that. And then they might have a particular dislike of assassins, because to assassinate someone is to do it without any honour at all. The next thing that we want to think about is what the holy weapon of the god is going to be, because in a fair number of systems, the deity you choose to worship will confer some sort of proficiency for their godly weapon. So, their holy weapon, because this is a deity primarily worshipped in Ashk, an Egyptian allegory, I think that a khopesh would be a good holy weapon, the curved swords. And because they are a goddess of protection, defending, let's do it with khopesh and shield. And we can work out mechanically whether it's all shields or some shields later on. But we know it's going to be a khopesh and a shield to defend the innocent through the strength of their arm. Next, what I like to do is I like to give my deities some saints or heralds. I think that having saints associated to your deities makes it much more interesting, because when your party go to a new place, they might not necessarily find a church of Aldeafe, they might find a church dedicated to a saint of that faith, and it just adds that little extra depth to the world. So to name your saints, you can do a few different things. You can follow the same process that I did for finding the name for the deity, using Google Translate, translating some keywords and seeing what you like. But another thing that I like to do is look at the real world region that the area these saints might have lived in came from, and then look up some traditional names. So in my case, I have looked up some traditional Arabic names, and I've decided that I really like Kamal. And because of the type of deity they are, Aldeafe is, I know that they're big on defense, so I think that they would canonize someone that gave their life in defense of someone else, that martyred themselves for someone else. So the saint is going to be Kamal the Martyr. And he might have died during the siege defending the people. And that's all I need to know right now. I can expand on that. So we know the name of our deity, we know where they are worshipped in great number, we know their alignment, their domains, their virtues, we know their holy weapon, we know the names of one of their saints. Next, I want to think about the way in which they're worshipped. I think it would be interesting if, instead of having traditional churches for Aldeafe, if instead the places of worship for this goddess were more like gyms or fighting pits, more militaristic locations where people come and their prayer might be dueling and combat and the strengthening of their arms. Knowing that the temple of Aldeafe is quite a martial place, I think that there would be a strong monk presence there. Aldeafe temples have a lot of monks. And then thinking more about Aldeafe as a goddess and the religion around her, I think that because of the strong martial focus, there would probably be an above average number of paladins who worship Aldeafe and a lower number of clerics, because clerics are more about passive defense and healing, and Aldeafe is more of an active defender, take the fight to the enemy to defend your people kind of goddess. So this is a really strong foundation to build on. It's maybe 15-20 minutes worth of work to get to here, but we already know quite a bit about this deity. We know their name, their region, we know things about their religion that could inform how we characterize NPCs in the world. And if you were creating an entire pantheon, this is the most work I would put in at the start for each deity. I'd definitely create their names, their alignments, and their domains, present that in a list to my players if any of them wanted to play divine characters, so that they could look through the list and decide, yep, this is what I want. I want to play Paladin of Aldeafe. At that point, I could use this information that I've written here and expand on it. And that's what I'm going to do now, and then I can show you what I would then hand to the players. And here we have the result of another maybe 15 or 20 minutes work. All told, I've put far less than an hour into this altogether. And you can see that we have quite a lot of information now about Aldeafe the Defender. You can see that I've put her titles, Aldeafe the Defender, the Goddess of Protection, and made a note that her faith is practiced all over the world, but more so in Ashk than anywhere else. I've noted that servants of Aldeafe believe that martial might is the superior form of defense. And then you can see on the right here, I've grabbed a picture of a Kopesh, which is her holy weapon. And then underneath, I've listed her titles, alignment, her holy weapon, and her domains. And then in the body of this text, I've expanded on their beliefs, on what people who worship Aldeafe believe and how they conduct their life. I've also expanded on the entry for Saint Kamal the Martyr, and I've written a small description of how he was defending a besieged city from a foreign host, and in an effort to let the people escape via the sewers, he led a team of volunteers to the gate and held the gate against the oncoming host long enough for the civilians to escape. It cost him his life, and then upon his death, it's said that Aldeafe herself appeared on the battlefield and lifted him up to the after, which is my version of heaven. And there he sits at her right side as her chief saint. So for under an hour's work, we've got a really strong deity. We know a lot about them. We know a lot about the attitudes of their followers, and we know how their followers might react to different situations. If you were to give this to a player who is playing a divine character, they would have a really strong sense of the kind of God that they are worshipping, and it'd go a long way to helping them believe in how the world you've built is a real place. This is the process that I use to build my entire custom Pantheon, which has got, I think it's 22 deities in it now, and I followed basically this process for each of them to expand on the background of them. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you've created your own Pantheon or your own gods, I'd really like to hear about them in the comments below and see if you've got any extra tips for people to help them build their own Pantheons. But until next time, happy gaming. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below for new content every single Friday. And if you want to keep watching, well, there's another couple videos for you to watch just over there. Happy gaming.